Dear Taurus, a clandestine gathering concerning you has just concluded, and someone departed in tears. Although you were not physically present, you were the bedrock of every discussion. These meetings often occur behind an unseen curtain, where your name goes unspoken and your presence unacknowledged. Yet, the most powerful force is God, Archangel Michael, your ancestors, and the universe convened to deliberate on your behalf. One individual left that meeting in tears, not due to defeat, but from the realization that they can no longer shatter the very foundation you embody. I will guide you back to that sacred threshold, a space where your stability is no longer threatened, but celebrated through the tears of the one who lost you. You will witness the true outcome of this secret meeting. It transcends mere intuition. It's karma being enacted. If you've ever questioned whether you're standing this ground alone, the truth will now reveal itself. Once, they dismissed your silence, but now the universe has fallen silent to listen. You don't need to say anything anymore. Taurus, you have tried to maintain the peace, endured with patience, and built your foundations on trust, only to find them eroded by hardened hearts and empty promises. You stood before those you once trusted, yet in their eyes, you were no longer an ally, but an obstacle, a stubborn soul, an unmovable presence they had no patience to navigate. You may have wondered if perhaps you were in the wrong because they moved on hastily while you stood still. They chased fleeting things while you cultivated stability, and they abandoned you when you needed protection the most. But take a moment to pause and absorb this truth. Your soul needs to remember it was never you who was wrong. You are not weak. You simply carry a strength of the earth too steadfast, too genuine, and too enduring a strength unbearable for those who only know how to live in chaos and deceit. Throughout your life, you faced trials where your patience was tested, where your loyalty was betrayed, and where you suffered not due to unworthiness, but because stability was traded for profit, power, and deception. Yet, there exists a more sacred realm, a court where you need not defend yourself, where light and karma coexist, and where God observes every silent burden you've carried and every heavy breath you've taken to keep your foundation from crumbling. Each time you were pushed but refused to be moved, the universe took note. Each time you chose silence over confrontation, the spirits of your ancestors lit a candle, and each time you chose not to retaliate, your inner strength ascended another level. Your silence was never a sign of submission. It allowed your roots to grow deeper. They mistook your endurance for passivity, but only the strongest souls can endure without resentment. Only the chosen ones dare to remain loyal unconditionally, and only those marked by Taurus can withstand the storm with a calm that is unshakable. You have navigated days where even you questioned your own limits. You contemplated letting go, wondering if anyone would notice if you stopped trying. Yet, you picked yourself up, rebuilt what was lost, and reignited the steadfast flame that had flickered within. Perhaps you have lived your entire life as a quiet fortress in this world, but to me, and to the spirits watching from realms of light, you were never forgotten. The Buddha taught that patience is a virtue, but the one who can practice patience has already moved through suffering. You have walked through it, witnessed it, and survived, That alone is a miracle. In Isaiah 54:17, it is said, "No weapon formed against you shall prevail." If you are still here today, still listening to these words, it's no accident. It's confirmation that everything you endured will not be in vain. You were overlooked by those who once vowed to build with you, but God does not break his promises, and the universe never forgets those who live with integrity. You believed you were fighting alone, but in truth, the entire cosmos stood behind you, for the stability you carry is something chaos can never touch. In that secret meeting, unbeknownst to you, someone had to bow their head. Someone wept, not you, but the one who once thought they could steal your peace, trample your loyalty, and erase the truth flowing through your veins. Take a deep breath. You are no longer alone in this fight. Though you may not see it, a long line of ancestral souls stands behind you, whispering that you have endured enough. From now on, light will be your shield. So, what transpired in that meeting? Who is the one who cried? And why does everything now seem to revolve around you? Someone is still mending the fractures in their heart. I will take you back to the moment your soul was called by name, not to be judged, but to receive what should have always been yours. If you've ever felt alone in your struggles, jot it down as a sacred declaration. I know God is listening. Now, let's delve into where secrets are unveiled and justice begins to speak. Someone has been called by name while you remained silent. Not everyone is aware that there are meetings held in the unseen realm, where every truth is illuminated and every lie is exposed. You don't need to show up. You don't need to defend yourself. This time, you are not the one on trial. They are. That gathering was for those who treated you as if you had no worth. The ones who took from you something you could hardly name: your peace, your trust, your security, perhaps even the very ground beneath your feet. They never realized that when they pushed you into the shadows, your steadfastness was most clearly visible to your ancestors. At the very moment they believed you were silently defeated, a sacred tribunal began to call forth the true witnesses. There was someone who once looked upon you, relishing your loss, believing their victory was assured. They thought they could purchase justice through the silence of destiny, but destiny is never for sale, and truth is never truly dead. You were pushed to the edge, not just materially, but spiritually. They didn't just take your possessions, they took a part of you that you once cherished. You were forced to bow your head repeatedly, as if testing how much a resilient soul could endure. Yet, you stood firm, without revenge, without cruelty, without allowing darkness to consume you. That resilience alone was enough to awaken the light within you. Some wielded the law, believing it to be their weapon of justice aimed straight at your heart. However, they failed to understand that human laws can be bought, but the laws of the soul cannot. The Buddha remained silent when falsely accused, not due to a lack of words, but because he trusted in the law of karma. Every lie, every wrongdoing, even when concealed behind clever words, money or power, carries a cost, and that cost is always collected at the right moment. God, too, is not silent. Everything concealed will eventually be revealed, not out of vengeance, but because light always chooses the perfect time to emerge. Today, that light has begun to shine, not brightly, not loudly, but through a quiet summons, a gaze, a whisper in the wind. One individual in that secret meeting has been called by name. No physical evidence is necessary. No cameras, no papers, no signatures, only the presence of your soul, honest and enduring, never once harming another. That presence alone was enough to shake the ground. The stillness of a genuine soul is the most powerful indictment against the deceiver. They may carry on as if everything is fine, laughing and sleeping peacefully, but deep inside, they begin to tremble, not because they fear your return, but because their souls sense the invisible judgment drawing near. When a Taurus soul is pushed to the edge, your energy awakens divine forces, not for revenge, but so that justice can reclaim its rightful place. You never needed to scream for justice by simply keeping the light of integrity in your heart intact. The dark forces begin to crumble on their own. You don't have to do anything. There's no need to resist or fight back using their tactics because you are not like them. You don't manipulate, you illuminate. You don't respond with bitterness. You respond with the sacred stillness of a soul that has been cracked but never broken. Protection has begun not through words, but through presence, through energy, through an invisible shield surrounding you, formed by the souls who love you. The person who once laughed at your fall is beginning to tremble not because they fear you, but because they are starting to comprehend that the stability you carry will expose all they sought to hide. Do you recall a time when you said, "I have nothing left to lose"? The truth is, you never lost what matters most: your soul, your sincerity, your faith, and your unwavering loyalty. These are treasures no one can ever take from you. They might strip you of land, status, reputation, and even temporary peace, but the light of truth in your heart is what they fear the most. Let me express this sincerely. You have come far enough. You have endured more than enough. From this point onward, you no longer need to stand and justify yourself, because the light is doing that for you. Can you feel your emotions beginning to settle? That is not weakness. It is your soul beginning to heal. You will soon realize that you never needed to take revenge, because they have already removed themselves from the circle of protection that still surrounds you. So, why are the tears falling from their eyes, not yours? Could it be that the one who once believed they were in control is only now starting to understand that true power lies not in the loudest chaos, but in the heart of the one who chose unwavering stillness? You will be led to the destined moment of a soul meeting, where light is no longer just protection, but becomes the gentlest punishment the universe has ever granted to an unworthy soul. If you have ever felt wrongly judged, if you have ever borne the weight of sins you did not commit, I gently invite you without pressure to leave behind a message like a prayer. My foundation is being restored. Sometimes, simply acknowledging that the light has begun to knock can be transformative. The secret meeting has revealed that your soul never failed. It was simply waiting for the moment it could be honored. The one who walked out of that meeting no longer holds power over your destiny. There was a time when you believed you were at fault simply because you were different, more steadfast, more quiet. You couldn't hurt anyone. You couldn't lie. You didn't know how to fight back or become as volatile as they expected. And so, they labeled you stubborn, weak. You endured so much that no one even noticed your limits. You begged just for peace, sending out messages that sounded like whispers from a heart in pain. You received no answers, only walls of silence, shaking heads, and sometimes disdainful eyes from those who believed integrity was a fragile luxury in this harsh world. Yet, you waited not out of naivety, but because you held a quiet faith that everything would arrive at the right time. You didn't grasp. You didn't chase the light at all costs. You chose to remain in the quiet, not because you feared the light, but because you understood that true light never demands to be hunted. It finds you when you are grounded enough to receive it. Today is that day. The one who left that meeting, the one who once believed they held your destiny in their hands, now possesses no power over your soul. When the universe illuminates, every chain that once bound your spirit quietly dissolves. No one can keep a Taurus in the dark forever. The very fact that you endured without striking back, that you waited without cursing, has made your soul the most deserving of divine justice. In the teachings of the Buddha, one truth remains unchanged. Whoever sows a seed will reap its fruit. You did not sow hatred. Therefore, you will not reap karma's wrath. Instead, you sowed patience, loyalty, and quiet integrity even when no one was watching. That is why today, your name is called not to be judged, but to be restored. God has spoken. The thief will be stripped, the liar exposed. You don't need to win on paper. You don't need a favorable verdict or a beautifully crafted apology or public recognition. You simply need your peace returned, the peace they once tried to steal from you in every conceivable way. Here's the miracle that peace doesn't need to be handed back by anyone, because you, dear Taurus, have kept it whole in your heart, even as it was crushed time and again. Are you still with me? You are here, still breathing, still living, still steadfast, still ready to forgive, but no longer allowing anyone to hurt you again. Take a moment, not to think, but to know that you are still present, and light is blossoming within you. You are living proof of a soul that was never broken, even when it hit rock bottom. You embody unwavering loyalty, the kind that continues to give, even when rejected. You are the soul the universe kept alive, not to endure suffering, but to witness sacred justice. As every last thread of control slips from their grasp and all manipulation ceases, only one thing remains, rising quietly from the shadows, your soul. What has it endured? What has it learned from all the losses, the betrayals, the forgotten years? That question is the doorway to the final chapter, the deepest one, where you will hear the call to return, not from another person, but from the fragmented self you once abandoned. Before we step into that final part together, I want to whisper one thing. If you've made it this far, if you feel the light returning, not as a blinding force, but as something warm and steady, let that be confirmed not by logic, but by a gentle word from your own heart. Like a sacred rite, I allow myself to be at peace. When you write it down, you're not just speaking to me, you're speaking to your soul, inviting the light in once more. Now, Come with me. The final part awaits, and you will not only hear the answer, but see yourself as a version that has survived, healed, and become a fortress of light untouched by the world. You are no longer a victim. You are the bedrock soul. You once thought you were the one left behind, the last in line to be loved, the one no one selected. You had to prove your worth piece by piece in a world where every door seemed closed. But the truth is, because you were the last, you were meant to remain, not to be wounded again, but to do what other souls could not, to become a sanctuary for those who have forgotten what stability feels like. The tears you held back were not a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to your soul's long existence in the shadows of misunderstanding, unspoken loss, and enforced silence. When the light returned, it cracked open every buried emotion. You held yourself up just to endure, clenched your teeth to keep going, and pretended to be strong so no one would see your trembling. You lived that way day after day, in a loneliness that few truly understood. But God understands, the Buddha understands, the universe understands. It is the very things no one saw, no one acknowledged, that the realms of light have etched into memory. Every detail, every breath you never demanded, never complained about, and never fought back against. You were simply quiet. You simply breathed. You simply kept moving forward. And that silence became the loudest answer to injustice. Just as the Buddha taught, light does not need noise to be recognized. It only needs to be seen at the right time, in the right place, in the right way. Today, your light is being seen not by the crowd, but by the souls who were once adrift, just like you, by those sitting in their own dark rooms, quietly listening to these words, softly thinking, "I thought it was only me." But you are no longer alone. You are part of a wave of light, returning through souls who still hold on to their stillness, even in suffering. God once said, "The last shall be first." And you, dear Taurus, are that soul. You were not chosen because you were perfect, but because you preserved your integrity when all around you turned to chaos. You do not need the world's approval. You do not need them to return and say, "I'm sorry." You do not need them to restore what they once took, because what you need most is healing. And that can only come from within, from the light you've preserved through all these years, from the faith you never let falter, from the loyalty you continued to give, even when you received nothing in return. You were once harmed, but you are no longer the one who was harmed. You were held in place by your ancestors, by the universe, by God, by all that is sacred and eternal. And for what purpose? To rewrite what strength means for the souls who were forgotten, to rise as living proof that you can survive anything, that you can lose it all and still keep your heart whole. You can be rejected and still never reject yourself. And that is your sacred mission. Close your eyes for a moment, not to forget, but to return. Return to the truest part of you, the one who is never weak, just too deep for the world to understand. The one who never lost, merely waiting for the light to arrive at the right time. The one who is never alone, just silently protected by thousands of unseen souls. Whisper to yourself, "I was never uprooted. I am eternally grounded." That sentence is the call that awakens every dormant energy within you. If you've journeyed this far with me, if each word has resonated within your heart, then you already know you are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are a fortress. And a fortress does not require permission to stand firm. If you have ever been silent, but still brave, if today feels like a sacred milestone in your journey back to yourself, then I invite you, as a quiet ritual, to write down, "Thank you, universe. Thank you, ancestors. I have stood my ground." There's no need to say anything else, for true strength needs no explanation. Thank you for listening with your heart, for walking this journey not just with your ears, but with the soul that is gently healing every old crack. Thank you for holding on to your steadfastness, even when life has never been gentle with you. I don't know where you are on this planet. I don't know what you have lost, what you're still hoping for, or what pain you're wrestling with. But I do know this: you deserve peace, not tomorrow, but right now. If no one has ever said that to you, let me say it with all my gratitude and reverence. I see you. I believe in you. And I pray for your peace, your stability, and a full return to your grounded self.